They were four ordinary women living extraordinary lives on our TV screens. The Golden Girls ran for 7 seasons and won every award possible. But in real life, their journeys were full of struggles, triumphs, and tragedy. It is 2026 and only one Golden Girl survived to see this decade. Here is everything you never knew about their lives. Let's stay with us. If you did not subscribe the channel, please do subscribe and press the bell icon. Number 1. Bea Arthur. Before there was Dorothy Zbornak, there was already a legend. Bea Arthur was born on May 13, 1922, and by the time she walked onto the Golden Girls set in 1985, she was 63 years old, and she had already conquered television once before. She was not new to any of this. She had spent years playing the iconic Maude Findlay in Maude, a woman who said exactly what she thought and apologized to nobody. So when they cast her as the tall, sarcastic, sharp-tongued substitute, Teacher Dorothy, it felt like the role was written in the stars. And on screen, she was untouchable. That deep voice, that single raised eyebrow, that perfectly timed pause before delivering a line that would leave the entire audience gasping with laughter. She won the Emmy for it in 1988 and honestly, nobody argued. But here is the thing about Bea Arthur that most people never knew. Off-screen, she was deeply private, fierce, passionate, and genuinely one of the kindest souls in Hollywood. She donated millions to animal rights and LGBTQ causes long before it was popular to do so. The gay community loved her with their whole hearts, and she loved them right back. When the Golden Girls ended, she kept working, kept performing, even took a one-woman show all the way to Broadway. She never really stopped. But in her final years, she fought a quiet battle with cancer, so private that most of the world had no idea until the very end. On April 25, 2009, Bea Arthur passed away at the age of 86. Betty White said she was one of the funniest women who ever lived. And in 2026, nobody has proven her wrong yet. Number 2, Betty White. Now let me tell you about a woman who outlived everyone. A woman who became more famous in her 80s and 90s than most people ever dream of being in their entire lives. A woman who the whole internet tried to protect like she was their own grandmother. You already know her name. But trust me, you do not know her whole story. Betty White was born on January 17, 1922, the same year as Bea Arthur. Let that sink in for a second. 2 women, born in the same year, ending up on the same couch, making television history together. When Betty joined the Golden Girls in 1985, she was 63 years old. And she was supposed to play Blanche. Read that again. Betty White was originally cast as Blanche Devereaux, the flirtatious Southern belle. But at the last minute, everything changed, and she was handed the role of Rose Nyland instead. The sweet, naive, and endlessly wholesome woman from a tiny town in Minnesota that nobody had ever heard of. And what did Betty do with that role? She made it legendary. But here is where the story gets really interesting. When the Golden Girls ended in 1992, most people assumed Betty White would slow down, retire maybe, enjoy the quiet life. She was 70 years old after all. Instead, she did the complete opposite. She kept working. She kept showing up. She kept making people laugh, decade after decade after decade. Then something remarkable happened. The internet found Betty White. A whole new generation fell in love with her all over again. She became a meme, a movement, a global phenomenon. There was even a viral campaign to get her to host Saturday Night Live, and in 2010, at the age of 88, she did exactly that, becoming the oldest person to ever host the show. She was still working at 99 years old. Still sharp, still funny, still Betty. And then on December 31, 2021, just 17 days before her 100th birthday, Betty White passed away quietly at her home. The entire world grieved like they had lost a member of their own family. Because honestly, they had. In 2026, Betty White is not just remembered as a Golden Girl. She is remembered as the woman who proved that age is absolutely nothing but a number. Number 3. Rue McClanahan. If Bea Arthur was the sharp tongue of the group and Betty White was the sweetheart, then this next woman was pure fire. The kind of woman who walked into a room and every single head turned. The kind of woman who made you laugh and made you blush at the exact same time. Born on February 21, 1934 in Healdton, Oklahoma, a tiny oil town that had absolutely no idea it was raising a future television icon. Rue McClanahan was 51 years old when she first slipped into the silk robes and southern charm of Blanche Devereaux in 1985. And, from the very first episodes, she owned that character completely. Blanche was glamorous, dramatic, and delightfully shameless. And Rue played her with such effortless perfection that most people assumed she was exactly like that in real life. She was not. And that is what made her truly remarkable. In real life, Rue McClanahan was nothing like Blanche. She was an intellectual, a passionate animal rights activist, a woman who had been married 6 times. Yes, 6, and who spoke openly and honestly about every single one of those relationships without a single regret. She was complex, layered, and far more interesting than any character she ever played. And here is something most Golden Girls fans never knew. Before Blanche, Rue had already worked alongside Betty White on the show Maude. The two of them had history long before Miami, long before the cheesecake, long before any of it. She won the Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series in 1987 for her role as Blanche. 1 year before Bea Arthur won the same award. 2 women from the same show, 2 Emmys. That had almost never happened before in television history. But life after the Golden Girls was not always easy for Rue. She faced serious health challenges, including a major stroke and open heart surgery. She fought back every single time. She never stopped performing, never stopped showing up, never stopped being Rue. On June 3, 2010, just 1 year after losing Bea Arthur, Rue McClanahan passed away at the age of 76. The Golden Girls were disappearing one by one, and the world felt every single loss. In 2026, Rue McClanahan is remembered as one of the most fearless comedic actresses who ever graced a television screen. Blanche Devereaux made people laugh for decades, but it was Rue who gave her a soul. Number 4, Estelle Getty. And now we come to the one that will genuinely surprise you. Because out of all 4 Golden Girls, this woman had the most unexpected story of them all, the most heartbreaking, the most inspiring, and honestly, the most unfair. Estelle Getty was born on July 25, 1923 in New York City, the daughter of Jewish immigrants raised in the Lower East Side, a neighborhood that was tough, loud, and full of life. She grew up dreaming of performing, but for decades, nobody gave her a real chance. She spent years doing small theater, small roles, small everything, while her future co-stars were building careers and winning awards. Estelle Getty was still waiting for her moment. She was 62 years old when the Golden Girls began in 1985. 62, and she was playing Sophia, Dorothy's elderly, wrinkled, sharp-tongued Sicilian mother. Here is the twist that most people cannot believe when they first hear it. Estelle Getty was actually younger than Bea Arthur in real life. The woman playing the mother was younger than the woman playing her daughter. Every single episode she sat in a makeup chair for hours getting aged up, getting transformed, becoming Sophia Petrillo from scratch. And what did she create? Pure magic. Sophia was the secret weapon of the entire show. Every time she walked through that door with her little wicker purse and her no-filter opinions, the audience exploded. Her timing was flawless. Her delivery was devastating. She could make you cry laughing in one breath and then genuinely emotional in the next. She won the Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series in 1988, and every single person watching knew she deserved it. But behind that performance, something was quietly going wrong. During the later seasons of The Golden Girls, Estelle began struggling to remember her lines. It was subtle at first, easy to explain away. But it was the beginning of something much more serious. After the show ended, she was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, a cruel and progressive disease that slowly takes everything. Her memory, her sharpness, her ability to recognize the people she loved. The woman who had delivered some of the most perfectly timed lines in television histories was slowly losing her words. All of them. She spent her final years in care, largely away from the public eye. On July 22, 2008, just 3 days before what would have been her 85th birthday, Estelle Getty passed away. She never got to see how much the world still loved her. She never got to see the millions of people who still quote Sophia Petrillo every single day across the internet. In 2026, Estelle Getty is remembered not just as a Golden Girl, but as proof that it is never too late. That your moment can come at 62. That you can spend a lifetime waiting in the wings and still walk out and steal the entire show. She waited longer than anyone. And when her moment finally came, she made it unforgettable. 4 women, 4 legends. One show that changed television forever. Bea, Betty, Rue, and Estelle. They were not just characters on a screen. They were proof that women over 60 stories worth telling, lives worth watching, and laughter worth sharing with the entire world. 3 of them are gone now. But in 2026, people are still watching, still laughing, still crying at the same scenes they have seen 100 times before. That is not just a television show. That is a legacy that will never die.